If you've been around the channel for a while, then you know that I love talking about Westerns. I think this is like the 8th video I've done on a spaghetti Western, and it probably won't be the last either. So with that out of the way, you're probably asking yourself, well, film nerd, what's the spaghetti Western that you're gonna shove in our face today? I thought you'd never ask. Today we will be going over the Sergio Corbucci classic, Navajo Joe.
Nebraska what? Sergio who?
Sergio Corbucci.
Unlike the Dollars trilogy, I didn't grow up watching this movie. I think my dad knew better than showing me this hot garbage. So I had never seen or heard of this movie before, and probably for good reason, until last year when I was working on my Quentin Tarantino movies ranking video. In the process of making that video, I made sure to watch every one of QT's films, through Reservoir Dogs all the way to my personal favorite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just for me and my own namesake, I'm not sure if I believe that there is such a thing as a bad Quentin Tarantino film. I can sit down and gladly watch all of them, no problem. Even his more unsuccessful ones like The Hateful Eight and Jackie Brown. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. While I was watching my way through them, I got to Kill Bill. Spoilers for Kill Bill, I'm saying that now. In Kill Bill Volume 2, in the finale where Beatrix and Bill are engaged in a sword fight, Beatrix uses the 5-point palm exploding heart technique, taught to her by Pai Mei. Then a little melody is played. From what I could find, this melody is called After the End by Ennio Morricone. It's quite good and I really liked it. The music goes on for a little bit through this emotional scene with Beatrix and Bill. Then after Beatrix says that Bill looks ready and she moves her hand off the top of his, Bill stands up. Then this song that just bumps starts playing. It literally had me like... This song went so hard when my little Elvian ears heard it for the first time. After I was done with Kill Bill and moving on to Death Proof, I immediately went to the web and scoured the internet in search of this sound. After about an hour or so, I did find this song and it was called The Confrontation by Ennio Morricone, or The Return of Joe. I was like, who the f is Joe? Then I did a little more digging and found that this song is actually from a movie called Navajo Joe. This cute little film contains some of the most indirect racism that I have ever seen in any film in a long time. Indirect racism? Yeah, like black-facing Native Americans. And I'm just getting word that the term I'm looking for is called red-facing. Either way, it doesn't make a lot of people in today's society want to watch it. I don't think they did it this way to make fun of Native Americans. I think Sergio Corbucci just used what he could at his disposal. Racist. But is it possible to look past the red face? Burt Reynolds is one of my favorite old-time movie stars. And if he's the one that's representing me as a Navajo, then I think I'll be able to let it slide. But how is this movie from an objective point of view? Well, objectively, I don't think it's all that bad. Whoa, okay, hear me out. The music in this movie goes so hard. That's how I even found out about this film. I also think it's one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. Now, the writing is a little lousy and the dialogue can be a bit awkward. Seriously, there's a moment in this film when after Navajo Joe tells the people of Esperanza that he can help them, and after they decline his offer, he goes out to his hideout. And apparently Estella, the lukewarm love interest, finds where he is. And after Joe asks how she knew where he was, she tells him that she just did. Take a look.
How'd you know I was here?
I just thought you might be.
The movie starts with Duncan's gang riding up on a bunch of Native Americans, killing them and ultimately taking their scalps to sell them for money. The selling of Native American scalps was a common practice in the untamed Wild West. I'm currently reading Blood Meridian, and the book highlights this very practice. People would scalp Native Americans and sell them for a profit. Usually 25 cents per scalp or $5 per severed head. Sometimes people would scalp anyone who looked like they could pass as a native scalp. So this usually meant Mexicans as well. But that's just the brutality of the Wild West. And this is displayed in Navajo Joe in the first sequence of the movie when Duncan and his men take out an entire village just for their scalps. After they do, the Duncan gang rides to the nearest town. But before they can do that, they run into none other than Navajo Joe. And it's pretty sweet. He takes out 2 of the Duncan members in an unorthodox and guerrilla warfare fashion. The Duncan gang decides not to chase after Navajo Joe just yet, and they head to town to find out that the gang leader known as Duncan is now an outlaw, as the scalp hunting is now illegal. Duncan and his men kill a majority of the town, but right after that, Duncan and another man discuss a train that's carrying a lot of money, so they rob it. Well, not rob, but capture it, because the guy they're negotiating with says he knows the combination and doesn't mind helping them as long as they secure the train before it reaches Esperanza. They do, and it is immediately stolen by the one and only Navajo Joe, who returns it back to the town of Esperanza. He tells the people of Esperanza that the Duncan gang are on their way to take back the money, but they killed all the soldiers who were defending the train in the first place. Joe offers his help, as long as the entire town agrees to pay him $5 a person, or something like that. At first, they are reluctant to agree to those terms, and they decline his offer. So they decide to send someone to go to the next town over to ask for help. The person they ask is the same fella who's in cahoots with the Duncan gang. After he doesn't come back, they agree to pay Navajo Joe. He's unsuccessful fending them off because Duncan captures his lukewarm love interest. He surrenders and is captured. He's rescued by the guy who escaped being killed in the previous town, and he and Navajo Joe and the showgirls help each other escape. After leading the Duncan gang into a trap with the train, an epic showdown happens at an Indian cemetery. Navajo Joe clutches it in a 6v1 situation, and just like that, it's 1v1 against the man that murdered his wife. In the confrontation between Duncan and Joe, Joe pulls the necklace that belonged to his woman off Duncan's neck. Then Navajo Joe starts beating the ever-living snot out of Duncan, while the song that I was originally in search of plays harmoniously in the background. And for some reason, Joe throws the rifle that he had in his hand down the ditch and turns to grab a tomahawk nearby. Kind of a strange way of doing this, as you will see later, but as he walks over to the tomahawk, Duncan pulls a revolver that he had hidden in his coat pocket and fires upon Navajo Joe. As Joe is getting riddled with bullets, he's able to grab the tomahawk and throw it right into Duncan's dome. It's pretty sick too, because Ennio Morricone's music is playing and it sounds like the most hype you will ever be in your entire life. The camera pans to Joe's horse, where next we see it riding into town with the money, but not him on it. Estella tells the horse to go to him, and he rides off into the proverbial sunset. I like this ending. It gives us a bit of mystery about the fate of Joe. Did he live? Was he on the horse but died and caused him to fall off his horse? Or did he put the money on the horse and told him to go to the town? That's what I like about the ending. It's ambiguous. But I also admire the real conflict in this movie: greed. When Navajo Joe first offered to help the town of Esperanza, it wasn't out of the kindness of his heart. It was for money. Why did Duncan murder an entire Native American village for their scalps? Money. Why did the gang massacre an entire train? For money. Man's greed is a tale as old as time itself. It's the main conflict in the good, the bad, and the ugly. We see how greed tests the morals of 3 different characters. In Navajo Joe, we see what greed does to a gang, and what compels a man to become the hero along with his plot of revenge. I think the best 2 ways you can interpret the ending is that Joe either died for the lives of Esperanza, or he died in his quest for revenge, which, said best by the Arthur Morgan,
either you got a lazy eye or lack of respect. Which is it, boy?
I ain't got no lazy eye. No respect for the likes of you.
Well, maybe when your mother's finished mourning your father, I'll keep her in black on your behalf. You think on that, boy?
Well, maybe you shall, sir. And maybe other events will transpire.
You best stick to them books, because mark my words on this. Vengeance is an idiot's game. Ah, Mrs. Downs, thank you for your punctuality. It's next to godliness, isn't it?
either he died a hero or just became another victim of revenge. I honestly don't know which one I like more, so I will leave you to tell me how you interpret the ending in the comments below. I really think you could remake this movie today. So here are my casting choices for each role. You have Martin Sensmeyer as Navajo Joe. Easy. He'd make a perfect Navajo Joe. Kelsey Asbell or Koryanka Kilcher as Estella. Either of those two would be a good choice. Sydney Sweeney as Barbara. And stay with me, Michael Pena as Duncan. I could also either see Oscar Isaac or Pedro Pascal playing Duncan. Navajo Joe was unfortunately a party that I was a bit late to. I think the movie itself is not all that bad, but I know most people aren't going to get past the red facing, and I can understand that. But if you can overlook all that, then I recommend this movie to you. As of right now, it's free on YouTube. Okay, people, that's all I have for you in today's video. Remember to follow God, stay focused, protect your energy, and without further ado, peace!